Once again, to all those who've just joined, my name is Naeem Zaman, and welcome to this special event organized by StriveUK. We are a British Muslim advocacy group made up of professionals across the United Kingdom, mostly of South Indian heritage. We do a tremendous amount of work in the field of campaigning against the scourge of Islamophobia through a number of omnichannel and platform activities in the form of events like this, mobilizing volunteers for protest, also working and collaborating with like-minded organizations in the production of documentaries. We have had the opportunity to conduct several programs that are targeted at youth. We also finished working on several projects around women empowerment last year. So there's clearly a lot of work that we've had the opportunity to work, and we invite all those on our call to be part of the efforts that we need to in actually creating a more equitable society and a more just British society by fighting against the scourge of Islamophobia, both here and elsewhere. So the event today, which I will speak to you in a bit, is very important because of everything that we've seen in the news and how it has manifested itself. And the format of the event today, for the benefit of all those who have joined, is we will be screening a documentary, which I will be speaking to you about, followed by 4 very prominent speakers who will speak to you for around 10 minutes. And then we leave it open to all those who have joined today for an open Q&A. Please feed in your questions in the chat box that you have on your screens. Now, coming back to why we are here today. For those of you who remember Junaid Khan, a 15-year-old Qur'an hafiz from Mewat in Haryana in the northern part of India. He was, with the dreams of becoming an Imam at the Jama Masjid, was on his way back home with Eid gifts when he was murdered by a Hindutva lynch mob on the 22nd of June 2017. What has pained us beyond words is that his murderers are out on bail and have been propagating calls for further killings at the recently held mahapanchayat in Haryana that many of you may have seen on social media, and proving yet again that the lynching of Muslims has become systemic, brazen, and sadly unchallenged in our country. On the 4th anniversary of Junaid's Shahada and martyrdom, we are now inviting you to join us on this premiere of a short documentary titled Hate, Hope, and Citizenship, 4 Years Without Junaid, which was produced by the exceptional students of Jamia Millia. And we are very happy to have a representative from Jamia Millia on the panel today. This will be followed by speeches by her and also the other 3 panelists to commemorate the lynching of the victims, so that we all not only remember Junaid and pray for him, but also do everything that we can to mobilize support to fuel activism and civic engagement to see that these crimes, not only they never happen again, and should it be unfortunate or circumstance happen, but they're not unchecked. It wasn't the most easiest of viewings, and I've been ashamed of several occasions in the past when it was difficult to watch videos of hurt or pictures to push away and not to look. But I was always told by their loved ones that you have to see what we see, only then will you know our pain. And I am very grateful to the students at Jamia Millia who've worked very hard and who've done a remarkable job through the eyes of the mother, and may God answer her prayers, for which we also pray. Our next part of the event today is actually the opportunity to hear from four of our very, very important panelists who we've assembled today and who will be speaking to you. And I'm actually going to invite one of the students, Tasneem Fatima, who is an MA Convergent Journalism student and an activist at Jamia Millia Islamia University, and is part of the team of the students that produced the documentary on Junaid. So all the speakers will be speaking for around 10 minutes, and then we open it for a panel discussion. Of course, it's going to be an open discussion for all. I'm going to invite Tasneem to please to speak to us. We have several questions that we want to ask, but Tasneem, we would want to first hear from you what you'd like to tell us.
First of all, I would like to thank StriveUK group for giving us this opportunity. I'm Tasneem Fatima from Jama Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Our group comprising of Imadul Hassan, Ifreen Raveen, Asma Hafiz, and Salim Javed. We did this short documentary under the guidance of Mr. Kohar Farooq Bhatt. Our documentary is just an attempt to show the hatred against Muslims through the lens of Muslims and Junaid Khan's family. The reason we choose to make this film is because Muslims living in the country right now are witnessing these horrific events, are worried about their lives and about their families. I have friends who are too scared to travel by train, by bus, or any public transport, to think twice before revealing their Muslim identities in public. This film is our attempt to document what is happening in the country and to start a conversation. Muslims of India love and take pride in their country. This is not what they deserve in return. I remember when we were thinking about the topic, we just want to make a documentary on any subject. Like it could be any apolitical documentary, poetic, or something other than hate, violence, fear, crime. But we were totally unable to disassociate us from what we had witnessed during anti-CA protest, and we were witnessing in North Delhi riots. Since the past few years, we have witnessed rising hate crimes against Muslims, the divisive politics played by the government in power, and hate speeches by some influential politicians. It was a threat to our lives and existence. We were in Delhi when the protest broke out against the anti-Muslim Citizenship Act. It started from our university and spread to the country. It is a law that allows the persecution of Muslims in India, and to see people supporting it make us feel vulnerable and unwelcome in our own country. The Northeast Delhi riots, in which 53 people were killed, was a result of hate speech and anti-Muslim rhetoric. Our film talks about two Mewati families, the family of Junaid Khan, who was lynched in train in 2017, and a Mewati family who were the victims of Northeast Delhi riots in February 2020. Both of these instances are a direct result of the divide and rule ideology that the government is using to stay in power. The people who dissent are crushed. Student activists are languishing in jails, and sedition laws are used to curb free speeches. We are living in an increasingly intolerant India. In just last couple of months, Asif Khan was lynched in Mewat. An elderly man, Sufi Ahmed Samad, was thrashed, and his beard was chopped off with a knife, and Muhammad Shakir, he was assaulted by a group of men calling themselves Gorakshaks or cow vigilants. These incidents took place at a time when the country was still struggling with the devastating impact of second wave of COVID-19. The Muslims of our country are not only facing this deadly virus, but they are also fighting another ruthless battle, that is widespread Islamophobia. The responsible people of these crimes are not punished. Justice is denied to these families. And in some cases, especially cow vigilant violence, cases are being filed against the victims. Rather than being supported, they find themselves struggling against the system. The anti-Muslim violence has been on rise for 6 to 7 years. For our film, we choose Meo Muslims as our subject, as the most of the people lynched after 2014 are Mewatis. During making of the film, we witnessed that Mewat is a very underdeveloped region, spread over 3 North Indian states. In addition to the lack of development and employment opportunities, they are also victims of communal violence by Hindutva groups. We traveled to Khandavali village in Ballabgarh, Mewat, to meet family of Junaid Khan and to meet other Meo families to understand the dynamics of the region. During the partition of India, the Meo Muslims choose to stay back in country after the assurance of Mahatma Gandhi. But the current climate of the country has left them feeling isolated. As students studying journalism, the most we can do is listen to his family members. He cannot offer anything else. There is a sense of utter helplessness in that situation. We cannot help them get justice by any other means. We can just attempt to tell their story. In the documentary, you have seen Junaid's mother with only pain and hope in her eyes. There is no hatred for people of other religion. Even after she lost her son in the most brutal way possible, she still has hope for a better future in this country. This surprised and overwhelmed us, and I hope this sends across a message of peace and love. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Tasneem. I wish it was played in a hall where you would have listened to a ringing applause, in support of the dedication that you have shown in trying to tell the story of pain, of suffering, and very, very surprisingly, under the circumstances, of hope and love. So thank you, and thank you to the team that actually did this. Thank you very much for sharing it today. We are very, very proud to have had the opportunity to platform this for you. I'm now going to invite Gopal Menon, who is an internationally acclaimed and award-winning documentary film director, producer, and cinematographer, known for his activism through social action documentaries on topics ranging from violence, nationality question, state repression, human rights, environment, caste, and gender, of course, among others. His work, Hindu Nationalism in Britain, was telecast as part of Channel 4 news report. I'm now going to invite Gopal ma'am to speak to all of us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate StriveUK and all of you for organizing this very timely meeting, on not just Junaid, because I believe strongly that revolutionaries are sown, not buried. So let us start with the hope. I heard Tasneem Fatima ji I saw the work. It's a beautiful work. It's brilliantly done. You should understand the situation in India today. It's really dangerous, really dangerous. So in that situation, students doing something like this is brilliant, beautiful. So at the stake of, uh, being myself called a communal person, I'm giving my revolutionary greetings, my love, my solidarity, and also Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So thank you so much. I'm also very happy that Sunida Vishnaji is there in the panel. She and her group, Humans for Human Rights, they are fighting a huge battle against the American Hindu Foundation and Seva International's funding. I know this because the film which you said mentioned about me, about doing this film for Channel 4, is about how Hindutva forces, including Seva International VHS and Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh, raised thousands of pounds, actually 4 million pounds for 2000 Orissa cyclone victims and 2001 Gujarat, earthquake. But these people send us money for communal hate and, for organized criminal violence against, Muslims in India. It took us, you won't believe. I hope Amrit Wilson of South Asian Solidarity Group is here. I hope Rob Lemkin, my great producer, is here. It took us months and months to track, 90,000 pounds to Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, which all of you know is the group which is working with Adivasis, the tribals, in India, which is the RSS platform. And you know what they did? They sent this money to Asim Anand. And the so-called sannyasi Asim Anand, he is the key, accused in all Hindutva terror bomb blasts, be it MA Masjid, Malegaon, Ajmer Dargah, and the Samjhauta Express. We could track him down, to the 90,000 pounds. And, finally we got him, we got the interview of the leaders of Adivasis, because Adivasis and Muslims were living very happily in the tribal areas of Gujarat. Both of them eat beef, there was no kind of, stringent Hindu caste structure, which anyways, thought Dalits and Adivasis were, kind of not part of them. Sorry to use this language, it can be called belligerent and can attack, invite a UAPA case in India today. But they were forced and they were asked to say that, that if Muslims, if Adivasis didn't attack, attack Muslims, they'd be killed. So they supplied alcohol and weapons, and then they attacked. And there were a lot of, huge atrocities like rape of Muslim women in front of the, in front of their own mothers, fathers. I don't want to go through the whole thing anymore. So I know what Sunidaji is doing, and also, Raju Rajagopalji of, Hindus for Human Rights has been a close friend, a dear friend since 2002, when my film, the first film on Gujarat, I call it genocide. Whatever you call it, I'm not bothered. It is genocide, even though technically, according to UN, there is no substantial decrease of a population. But I call it genocide, and that's what I call Ram in the land. Gandhi's, land of genocide in the land of Gandhi. Okay, so thank you, Sunidaji. Thank you, Tasneem ji. Thank you, Mufti Amin Pandarji. Let me get into my, presentation. I know when I talk about fascism, I kind of lose track and I keep on calling, I'm talking. But let me just quickly talk about the mob lynching. But frankly speaking, what I'm going to talk is not about mob lynching. The problem I find, with the Indian activists, Indian political parties, other than BJP and everyone, is that we kind of keep on responding to the BJP agenda. They bring things one after the another. We keep on responding. And if we do that, I tell you, friends and comrades, we are not going to get anywhere. We know that in UP, they are in big shit because of COVID, mismanagement, and other things. We need to move fast. We need to dislodge them in 2024. But I'll come to that later. But I'm, humbly requesting, the moderator and to give me, some 10 minutes time. Thank you so much, sir. On May 16th, 2021, Asif Khan, from Mewat, UP was killed by a mob of 15 to 20 people. He was actually running a gymnasium, but that was not the issue. He was, resisting attempts of Hindutva forces from being thrown away, from their village for being, they were trying to displace them. And anyway, as you know, Mewat was considered as mini Pakistan just because, because it's a majority Muslim area. And let me tell my close friend Tasneem Fatima ji, let's not get into the apology mode. Muslims, are very much a part of India, as much as Savarna Hindus like me, like Dalits, like Adivasis, like other backward castes, just because there was a partition, let us stop apologizing. There is no need, because we, as a people of India, we kind of resolved to create a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. That was the foundation foundation of our republic. So there is, let us get out of this apologetic. Nobody can say Indian Muslims are anti-nationals. Nobody can say that Indian Muslims are inferior. Nobody can say they are better than the Hindus. Nobody can say they are better than the Christians. They can't say anything. They can't say anything like that. That's simple. Because we have a constitution, under the leadership of people like Baba Sahab Ambedkar, we have a constitution which clearly lays down, and why the hell do we kind of suspect Indian Muslims allegiance to India? If there was a Bhagat Singh, there was also an Ashfaqullah Khan. Both Bhagat Singh and Ashfaqullah Khan are revolutionaries. Both of them laid their lives for India. There is if there is a Gandhi, there is also a Frontier Gandhi. Let me come back to my issue. So when that what happened in Mewat was this was a big mob lynching issue. Mob lynching issue of Asif Khan, because the simple fact was that the Hindutva elements wanted to dislodge Muslims and throw out Muslims from that place. But then what happened was also dramatic, equally dramatic. A mahapanchayat was organized on 30th of 2021, and all COVID protocols were violated. Now, that the BJP who rules the country is also very good in breaking all kinds of protocols, including, COVID protocols, be it, using of Delhi pogrom, for crushing anti-CA protests, for being, bringing, Central Vista project, which is 20,000 crore project. The Bhumi Pujan was done in the parliament with 6 Hindu priests, from, different parts of the country. The farmer protests, they arrested Disha Ravi and other people, so this is not that simple. And then they also, arrested, when we talk about, the anti-CA protests, sorry for, when I'm kind of getting into, Umar Khalid is my very close friend. Umar Khalid is my very close friend. I know him from 2002. when he was, I mean, before he joined, JNU. But you know what happened? He's a very secular, he's a, he's a great guy. The only problem, he did was, the only thing it was against, anti-CA protest, on anti-CA protest, he kind of, talked in, 155 places in 19 states. And then how, other people were arrested. I'll come to that a little later. Let me come to my main presentation before you people lose kind of, patience, So, let us now, get into how fascism comes. This understanding is very important, because what we are saying, for example, Junaid Khan was murdered on 2016, 17, exactly 4 years before this. But, Naresh, Naresh Kumar, in the Mahapanchayat, he clearly said that I fought a jihadi, I killed him. And then he asked Mahapanchayats, support, for all, all, all the people, who were, part of the attack. Can you imagine? Can you imagine in a so-called democracy, an accused, that too, not a small murder, brutal murder of a 17-year-old boy, starting, stating in a, in a public meeting attended by thousands of people, attended by BJP leaders, who represent the ruling party, making a same state. I don't know. I really, it's kind of a, and one should understand that, is the one of the main things, one should understand that this mob lynching has happened even before, after that, in 2021, there was, mob lynching of, somebody, in Jharkhand, these people, were kind of transporting, 2 oxen, for, for, agriculture purposes to Maharashtra from Jharkhand. His name is Babu Bill, sorry, not Jharkhand, from Rajasthan, and he was, lynched to death. So let me complete. How many minutes do I have, sir?
Another 4 minutes.
Wow.
We can continue the conversation during the Q&A. There is a Q&A session and a question also.
Okay. Now, okay. So I will finish it off soon. Okay. There's a guy called Sunil Ambekar. He's an ideologue of ours. Now, let us look at, in Amazon, India. Amazon, India, has a lot of authors, very famous authors, like Arundhati Roy. But which is, which book is the most, hot-selling book in India? It is the book of somebody called Anil Ambekar, who is RSS ideologist. And the book is called, the book is called RSS Road Maps to 21st Century. Now, that is the hot-selling book on Amazon. That represents the mood of India. Okay. Now, let's coming back to a basic question. In 1923, when Hindu Mahasabha was formed, they said in 100 years, they'll make Hindu Rashtra in India. In 1925, September 25th, when RSS was formed, they said in 1925, Hindu Rashtra will be formed. So what I want to say, is that they have their agenda completely set. I want not 4 minutes, I want 6 minutes. Let us talk about deep state in India. See, when Congress was there were a lot of issues. The father of Asian democracy, Jawaharlal Nehru, had even bombed the Misos when they wanted to leave the Indian nation. They have attacked, Kashmir. They have attacked, it is not just attack, they have, it's a full-fledged invasion of attack, Northeast, but lot of secular institutions were safe. But with BJP, all that is gone. All that is gone. And, now, and the deep state means, it's the armed forces, it's the police, it's the secret police, it's a bureaucracy. And the deep state of India, has always been pro-Hindutva. I can take questions on that. And now coming back to the last point, Dalits, tribals, and Muslims constitute 43% of Indian population. 75% of Indian under trials are from these communities. 50% of all the prisoners in Indian jails are from this community. Now, I hope, I don't have to tell you more about the deep state. The deep state was there, but the difference is that now I have a problem with all these left intellectuals who don't understand Muslim identity politics, Dalit identity politics, Adivasi identity politics. So because conclude, I promise you, sir, I conclude. See, who are the basic, talk about, class struggle. Who are the base class? There should be a base class for the class struggle. Who are that? I didn't say that. Sachindra sir report, Rajendra Sachar sir report clearly says that, in India, Muslims don't have, financial status or educational status or anything more than Dalits or Adivasi. So without, Muslims, can we have a class struggle? Secondly, who are fighting imperialism worldwide? It's a Muslim community. Who are taking the brunt of all the violence? It's a Muslim community. So now, that is an excuse. That is why I also say, when somebody tells me salam, the way I tell, it's not like to please anybody, because it's a huge issue, because it's not proto-fascism or anything that is happening in India. It's full-fledged fascism. And I want some more time because I want to talk about what happened during, CA protest. I want to talk something about Lakshadweep issue. I want to talk something about how Modi's Central Vista project, 20 crores, was inaugurated in India's Parliament House with, so-called Hindu priests from 6 different parts of this thing. And also, that, 47 channels are run by Ambani. So I'm talking about chronic capitalists, and the latest IT rules, they want to control even social media and OTT platforms. And they are not interested in, international issue, pressure also. So they want to shut down Facebook, Instagram, even Google. They want to create another Google Wikipedia.
Now, I'm going to invite the founder of the Hindus for Human Rights. She's based in the United States, Sunita Vishwanath, that many of us know and are familiar and are admirer of her work. We all know her as someone who's worked for over 2 decades in women's rights and human rights organization, and is also a co-founder and active board member of the International Women's Human Rights Organization, Women for Afghan Women. I'm going to invite Sunita ji to please speak to us for a few minutes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's a real honor to be here. Salam, namaste. I was just really enjoying the dynamism of Gopalji. It was really infectious. And Tasneem and the students, the documentary was it just cut to the heart, and I got to see it ahead of time, and my comments are a reflection from my heart on this brave film and these issues that are contained in the film. So it's a different speed to Gopalji, but it really came out of my response to the film. I'm the mother of 3 boys and the godmother of 2 girls. My youngest son, Satya, is about to turn 14. He's a boy on the cusp of becoming a man. He is asserting himself more than ever, expressing opinions, articulating desires and ambitions, being honest about vulnerabilities, and more, making decisions that diverge from mine and his father's. It's thrilling to see my child mature and grow, and there's a bittersweet feeling of loss of the small child, cute, vulnerable, adoring, dependent. One of my goddaughters is a Muslim girl from Afghanistan, Nilab. I first met her when she was 15. She's 26 now. She has valiantly made a home so far from home and is trying to cherish the memories that are precious while navigating memories that are traumatic. Eid is one of those memories she cherishes. We just celebrated Eid with Nilab. And when I think of 15-year-old Junaid, a boy also on the cusp of becoming a man but wasn't allowed to, a boy who would make his siblings laugh, a boy who was telling his family about his dreams and aspirations, a boy who was coming home joyously after buying sweets and new clothes for Eid, my own Satya and Nilab's faces appear before my eyes. I respond as a mother first and foremost, and while I cannot possibly know the pain of Junaid's mother, Saira Bano, I feel some version of it deep within me. Junaid was India's son, my son, our collective son. And none of us will thrive in a country, a world which lynches its young. Bearing witness to Sister Saira's pain in this film takes my mind to Emmett Till, a 14-year-old son of America, a Black boy who was lynched in August 1955 because he was accused of whistling at a white woman. Emmett Till's mother, Mamie Till, chose to have her dead son displayed in an open casket so that the world would see her darling boy's mutilated face. Saira Bano has the brave fighting spirit of Mamie Till. Junaid was stabbed to death and thrown out of a train because of a squabble over seats in a crowded carriage. Some of us will immediately think of an incident over 100 years ago, June 7th, 1893, when Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was thrown off a train in Pietermaritzburg Station, South Africa, for refusing to leave a whites-only compartment. This was Gandhiji's first act of civil disobedience. In March 1955, 9 months before Rosa Parks famously sparked the Montgomery bus boycott in Alabama by refusing to give up her seat for a white man, a brave 15-year-old girl, Claudette Colvin, did the exact same thing and spent time in jail for refusing to give up her seat for a white person on a Montgomery bus. Bayard Rustin is an often forgotten civil rights leader in America. In 1942, 13 years before these acts of civil disobedience by Colvin and Parks, Rustin boarded a bus in Louisville, Kentucky, and sat in the second row instead of the back seats that were relegated for Black passengers. Rustin was beaten and arrested. Rustin traveled to India a year after Gandhi was assassinated in order to learn more about Gandhi's nonviolent resistance movement and methodology, in order to bring these teachings back to the US civil rights movement. And so, thinking back to our boy Junaid, a boy at the cusp of manhood, dreaming of a bright future and excited to celebrate Eid. But Junaid takes his place among the martyrs who gave their lives for standing up for their civil rights and their right to dignity as human beings. Many of us think of the emergency in India as the dark years between 1975 and 77, when democratic rights were put on pause by then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. What is happening in India today is also an emergency, perhaps an even more devastating one. an openly Hindu nationalist government has spent the past 7 years decimating Ambedkar's constitution and India's democracy. We have seen hundreds of lynchings of Muslims and Dalits by Hindutva mobs. We are seeing beef ban laws, so-called love jihad laws, blatantly anti-Muslim citizenship laws, so many other laws and policies that target India's minorities, mostly Muslims. And while thousands of activists, journalists, and intellectuals languish in jail, bail denied, for participating in peaceful and lawful protests and other expressions of dissent, the 6 men arrested for Junaid's lynching are out on bail free. In recent weeks, we have seen more anti-Muslim atrocities. Some have been named here today. In Barabanki, Uttar Pradesh, a mosque was illegally demolished by local authorities. This is possibly the first mosque demolition by the state rather than a mob. 3 young Muslim men were lynched by a Hindutva mob in Agartala, Tripura, just a few days ago, allegedly for smuggling cattle. Just about a week ago, an elderly Muslim man in Uttar Pradesh was beaten up and forced to chant Jai Shri Ram, my God's prayer. A video of one of his attackers cutting off his beard went viral. 3 prominent journalists are being investigated by the UP police simply for sharing this news on social media. And Asif Khan, 25 years old, a young man in Haryana, was out to buy medicines a month ago with his cousins. The cousins and he were beaten, and Asif was lynched to death by a mob of Hindutva men. As humans, as Indians, as mothers and fathers, we all need to say, not in our name. In every one of these cases I have cited, the perpetrators were Hindutva mobs. As Hindus, my community, we need to say, not in our name. Hate has no boundaries. Hindus may feel that Hindutva ideology is a good path because they feel victimized in their own country. First, I would like to ask them to search their souls and ask themselves who is truly being victimized. Then I would ask them, even if there is any injustice against them, do such lynchings really make anything better for them, for anyone? I would ask them if their God, their Bhagwan, their Devi Ma would permit such atrocities. I would ask every Hindu, everyone, to consider these words of African-American writer and civil rights leader James Baldwin. What you have to look at is what is happening in this country. And what is really happening is that brother has murdered brother knowing it was his brother. White men have lynched Negroes knowing them to be their sons. White women have had Negroes burned knowing them to be their lovers. It is not a racial problem. It's a problem of whether you're willing to look at your life and be responsible for it and then begin to change it. That great Western house I come from is one house, and I am one of the children of that house. Simply, I am the most despised child of that house. And it is because the American people are unable to face the fact that I am flesh of their flesh, bone of their bone, created by them. My blood, my father's blood, is in that soil. I'll leave you all with these chilling numbers from the website of the NAACP. Between the years of 1882 to 1968, there were 4,743 documented lynchings in America. 3,446, or 72% of those lynchings, were of African Americans. Almost all the remaining lynchings, that's 1,297, a full third of them, were of white people involved in racial justice work or who loved Black people. Hate targets us all. Every school-going Indian has chanted, "India is my country. All Indians are my brothers and sisters." My final message to my fellow Hindus: while love is infectious and spreads across borders and boundaries, hatred never just targets one community. Only by rooting out this cancer that is Hindutva ideology will we save our brothers and sisters, and will we save ourselves. To the non-Hindus listening, I humbly offer my love and solidarity in your journey. And my ask to any Hindu listening: join us at Hindus for Human Rights to build the best possible version of our religion and spread love and not hate in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil. That was that was very emotional for us for several reasons. Your expressions of solidarity, and through retelling the story through the eyes of Amit and Nilab, we are so very grateful that you shared that with us. And we pray that you live to see them grow, become the dreams that they have for themselves, and make you proud of the work that you do and that you've inspired everybody else. Thank you very, very much, Sunitaji, for sharing your time. We'll have several questions for you on the panel. I'm now going to invite our last speaker before we have the panel and open the questions to all. I encourage all those on the call to please type in your questions to the chat. We will take them. If you can also indicate who you want those questions addressed to, we could do that. I'm now going to invite an Imam who is the director of the Peace Institute in the UK, a former civil servant, and is also a faith advisor at the University of Huddersfield. I'm going to invite Mufti Muhammad Amin Pandor to please speak to all of us. Mufti Saab.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen. Nabiyyina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhan nas inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. I'm going to translate these verses of the Quran as we go along, but I'm very, very honored and very, very humbled to be invited to ask to talk by StriveUK on this very, very important occasion. My brother Gopal, I'm a bit like you. So if the moderator doesn't stop me, once I have the mic, I won't let go, because I'm always low. So remember that. Now then, as Sunita ji was talking, something just occurred to me, although I hadn't prepared this in my talk, but I think it's quite worthwhile. When this young lad Junaid was stabbed brutally in the train, it just reminded me of the story of Umar radiallahu anhu. This is the second Khalifa of the Muslims. The Muslims, they came right up to Palestine, and everybody knows what's happening in Palestine now, which is another story, but we won't go down there now. The rabbis of Palestine said, we will surrender the city if we see your Khalifa, your leader. And at that time, the leader was Umar. So Umar was sent a message, and Umar got onto his camel with his servant, whose name was Aslam at that time. Whose name was Aslam. So they had an agreement that Umar would walk for a certain time, and his slave would be sitting on the camel. And then they would, after an equal length of time, they would swap places. And guess what? Just about ready, when they were ready to enter Jerusalem, who's sitting on the camel? It's the servant who's sitting on the camel. So the Muslim people came out and they said, look, Umar, why didn't you get onto the camel? What did Umar say? He said, no, I cannot get onto the camel. It's this slave's turn, and we had an agreement that he would sit half time and I would sit half time, and he would sit part of the time and I would sit part of the time. And so they actually walked in, marched in. And when they marched in, the servant was sitting on the camel, and the leader of the Muslims, the entire Muslim community, was actually walking. So that's the manners that Muslims are portraying, Muslims portray. And it's very sad to see this thing which is happening in what I call Mother India. I'm originally from Gujarat, and I haven't been back to India for a long, long time, but I follow the politics of it very, 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 very closely. And I'm really surprised. I'm really about the injustice that's happening in Mother India. I mean, even the Gita, considered the most important sacred text of Hindus, and I'm no expert. It talks about harmonious existence. I'd like to read another verse of the Qur'an, which says, "Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina lillahi shuhada'a bil qisti wa la yajrimannakum shana'ana qawmin ala alla ta'dilu taqwa wattaqullaha innallaha khabirun bima ta'malun." Let me translate that verse into a region called Yorkshire. So I'm going to translate it into Yorkshire in English. It says, "O you who believe, be strong and devoted to God, as witness to fairness and equality, and not let the hatred of anyone that you despise lead you into sin out of devotion, sin and away from justice." He says, "Be just. This is the closest to being God conscious, and remain conscious to God. Very God is aware of all you see, all you do, and all your thoughts." Now, why do I read this verse of the Quran? It's very clear that if this occurred in a Muslim country, I mean, we don't have a what you call a Sharia compliant Muslim country, but if this occurred in a Muslim country, the Quran would be thrown at the person. Even if he was a Muslim, it would be thrown at him and say, "Look, this is what you have done. You are not allowed to have any injustice, any enmity towards any non-Muslim, even though you are the majority." So this is how Islam teaches us. And again, the first verse that I read, that we have created you male and female and made you into nations and tribes, and everybody, we are all sons of Adam and Eve. And this is quite surprising. And I say to my brothers and sisters, especially the sister, the first sister, Tasneem, that making this film is really very, very courageous. And I know I've been following what happened at your university there, and it must be really, really daunting. You really be scared, because I myself, sometimes some people ask me, "Should I go to India now?" I say, "Well, you might want to consider whether you want to go or not. It's not exactly safe." I'm sure some people will say it's more safer than probably the media portrays. So really well done, Sister Tasneem, for making this thing. And I say to the non-Muslims, if there's any here, let the sleeping lion sleep. If the lion wakes up, you'll be in real trouble. Because Muslims, when they will get united, I'm not saying they will commit atrocities, but trust me, you will not. People will really wake up and understand what Muslim power is. And Muslim power is not a threat, but it is one of living in coexistence, living together with the community. I do a lot of work here in UK, and we work very, very close together with Christians and the Jewish community. And what we need is people like them. This is the first time I've seen this film, and I don't know if anybody noticed that I actually was crying myself, because it was really, really touching. Because I say to the mother of Junaid, I'll say you will be in Jannah. So if there's anybody that lives near the mother of Junaid, please convey this message to her. She will be in Jannah. Her son will be waiting for her outside the gates of paradise, and his son will not go into Jannah. And he will say, and this is from Hadith, the child will say, "Oh Allah, I'm not going to Jannah until my mother accompanies me." So Allah, out of his enormous mercy, He will actually take his mother and his father and say, "Here you are, going to Jannah." Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. I could say a lot, but I'm going to stop there. I'm going to give it back to the moderator. Jazakallah khairan. Ahsanu jana. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Barakallah. Thank you so very much, Mufti Saab, for that very, very, very moving picture of things that you've now described to us.